Welcome to today's Explainer. We're diving straight into an incredibly dark, almost graphic novel-style journey today. We're unpacking something literally massive, the cosmic ledger of existence itself. It's a fable about psychological decay, the unmaking of reality, and frankly, the way the source material breaks this all down is just a fascinating ride. We're going to navigate this profound philosophical story called The Descent into the Honest Horizon to figure out what it actually means to look the absolute end of all things right in the eye.
To guide us through all this darkness, we have this absolutely fascinating figure known as the Obsidian Doctor. Now think of him as an entity of absolute existence. He's an overman, someone who has entirely moved past our everyday human concepts of good, evil, or morality. He operates out of this forbidden library of secret mechanics, just watching. He observes this grim-dark myth unfolding from a vantage point called the Infinite Zero. He's not down there brawling in the chaotic struggle of life. Instead, he's the ultimate intellect, just quietly gathering cynical knowledge from the archives of the unmaking.
To really wrap our heads around this narrative, we need to look through the Doctor's eyes as a dual witness. And guys, just picture the scale here for a second. He is literally standing high up on the petrified ridge of a dead god. Just wild imagery, right? From way up there, staring out across the desolate lead horizon, he reads from the secret mechanics of the Obsidian Index. As this dual witness, he's observing the absolute truth of the unmade world. And honestly, he's mocking human vanity. He totally ridicules anyone trying to build these gilded cages of denial or strict laws just to hide from the inevitable void, because he sees right through the illusion.
But to really get the Obsidian Doctor's cold, cynical observation, we have to look at his roots. We have to look at what he evolved from, the Crimson Doctor. Now, the Crimson Doctor was raw, violent energy. He was the uncanny, this sudden, brutal catalyst for absolute ruin. His whole purpose was just shattering the illusions of the ego, melting down the iron gates of repressed desires, and causing a total unraveling of the self. Super violent, super messy. The Obsidian Doctor takes that and steps it up. He evolves from that raw destruction into cold, cynical, intellectual mastery. He doesn't just want to destroy the self. He understands, categorizes, and masters the resulting void.
Okay, so looking through the eyes of our Obsidian dual witness, we watch the actual fable unfold. Try to picture this like the stark, high-contrast panels of a comic book. You've got our two protagonists, the young, verdant dragon who is just bursting with emerald vitality, and the super cynical gargoyle of living fire. They start climbing the only vertical thing in this perfectly flat, dead plane. But here's the twist. This isn't just a regular mountain. This leaden peak is made entirely from the petrified remains of the first guardian of the roots. So the young dragon is literally scaling the corpse of his own ancestor. As they're climbing this massive corpse, the gargoyle is hissing the story, basically outlining the completely inverted heroic journey of the dragon's ancestor. He breaks down exactly how the first verdant traded in his living flesh for inorganic calm in 4 pretty brutal steps. Step 1, abandoning the roots, realizing the whole struggle to survive was just a structural error. Step 2, oxidizing the scales, where he sheds the emerald lie of vitality. Step 3 is exhaling the merciful fog, a gesture to ease the burden of breathing for everyone else. And finally, Step 4, welcoming the Infinite Zero, turning entirely to stone.
And that sequence perfectly captures the essence of the first Guardian's descent. Look, his journey wasn't some heroic quest for a shiny throne or a magical boon. Not at all. It was this crushing, heavy realization that the painful effort of growing new life was, well, actually a cosmic mistake. He was driven by this ultimate urge for self-destruction, but not out of malice. He did it because he believed life itself was just a temporary theft from the void. So by turning to stone, he believed he was finally returning what had been stolen. He literally became the first honest guest of the void.
Now, there is a super fascinating, stark contrast here regarding how you actually face the unmaking. On one hand, you have the first guardian. His act of final honesty was total surrender. He gave up his living flesh and succumbed completely to the void. But then you have the Obsidian Doctor, who takes a wildly different path. He chooses cynical wisdom. Instead of just giving up, he transcends the void to become its ultimate observer. He masters it intellectually rather than letting it erase his consciousness. He survives the end of everything by becoming the overman who catalogs it all. It's a real game changer in how you view the end.
Right, so returning to our fable, the dragon and the gargoyle finally make it to this hollow marketplace of gray stone, right at the summit of this petrified god. This is the absolute crucible. Here, the gargoyle demands repayment to the void. He starts preaching from the ledger of the borrowed debt, using this incredibly heavy, suffocating leaden tongue. He straight up tells the young dragon that just to breathe is to borrow a liability. He's projecting the sheer frequency of absolute vacancy, basically trying to crush the dragon's spirit right there on the peak. But the dragon's response? Absolutely incredible. Because instead of some fiery physical anime battle, what we get is a clash of scripts on a cosmic ledger. It's brilliant. The gargoyle represents the ink of negation. He is silence, the truth of the end. But the dragon? He is the green script of potential. He takes the gargoyle's malicious silence and fires back with the honest sound of chaotic becoming. He argues that he represents the truth of the passage. It's a battle of massive, profound philosophical weight rather than just claws and teeth.
So observing this clash from his high vantage point, the Obsidian Doctor hits on a profound realization about what he calls co-constitutive realities, and it's exactly what it sounds like. It's the idea that these aren't competing forces where one side has to win and the other loses. Void and vitality actually legitimize each other. Think about it. The dragon's loud, messy, chaotic life, and the gargoyle's silent, cold negation, they absolutely require one another to make any sense. Without the void, life has no boundary. And without life, the void has absolutely nothing to consume.
To really lock this concept in, the Doctor borrows an idea from modern philosophy regarding foams, presenting this concept of adjacent bubbles. Just imagine two bubbles sharing a very, very thin wall right at the absolute edge of reality. On one side, you have the dragon's noisy vitality, and on the other, the gargoyle's inorganic calm. As you'll see, without the messy pulse of life acting as that adjacent bubble, the absolute silence of the unmaking would be completely meaningless. It's the living friction that actually gives the void its terrible, majestic weight.
And the young dragon? He understands this deeply. Staring down the gargoyle, he comes to this triumphant, totally defiant realization. He declares that his messy interruption into the universe isn't a crime. It's not some cosmic mistake that needs to be erased. It is a necessary resonance. By standing right there on the petrified remains of his ancestor, the guest of silence, he proudly claims his own role. He says he is the honest guest of the pulse. He accepts his vitality not as a lie to hide behind, but as his own raw, honest truth on this high mountain stage. And so, we reach the conclusion of the Fable's narrative arc right at the edge of the infinite zero. The dual witness, our Obsidian Doctor, affirms their journey. He notes that final honesty isn't about the dragon beating the gargoyle or the void wiping out life. No, the ultimate truth is the brutal, honest coexistence of both forces. The fable ends with these two figures, the messy light of potential and the cynical shadow of negation, just walking side by side across the lead horizon. They are both honest guests in the unmade world.
Which brings us to the ultimate takeaway from the Obsidian Doctor's high vantage point. He mocks the vanity of trying to hide from our inevitable end, and he leaves us with a seriously profound question. As you navigate the infinite zero of your own reality, how are you going to face the void? Are you going to build a gilded cage of denial to hide from the truth? Or will you drop the emerald lie, embrace the absolute facts of existence, and bravely walk side by side with your own cynical shadow? Definitely something heavy to chew on. Thanks for exploring this myth with me on today's Explainer.